Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to create a Get Well card, just kind of a fun and funny Get Well card using lots of products from Art Impressions. This is the stamp set we'll be using today from Art Impressions. It's the Get Well set. We're going to be using that nurse there with that gigantic needle in her hand. And we'll use a couple sentiments from this set, but you can see this has some really cute images and some really fun little sentiments to coordinate along with these. So I've got my mini MISTI stamp positioner. We'll be using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink to ink this up, and then I'll be using that Stampendable stamp pressing tool to press that out. I'm going to be stamping several of the little pill bottles. I'm not sure how many I need at this point, so I stamped 6 of them. Let's start our coloring with light blue and cobalt blue, and I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. And I'll be using the Zig blender pen to do my blending. And all of the colors I'm using will be in that upper left-hand corner as we're going along. And all of the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. The sentiment we're going to use for the front of the card, it says, "The nice nurse is on vacation. Get well soon." And then for the inside, we're going to add that little message that says, "Sending a little laughter. It's the best medicine." So I thought those two went together really well. But this little guy, the guy at the bottom with his little hospital gown on, there's a couple cute sentiments for that. It says, "That's why they call it the ICU." And then one of them says, "Hope you'll be fully recovered." So really cute. There's a couple of little pill bottles. You have a nice little collection to complete a card. So I'll continue adding a few little shadows and shading here and there, and then just simply do that blending. And you can also use a water brush to do your blending if you prefer. Switch over to light gray and gray, and we'll do this little stethoscope. I'm just adding a little shadowing with that darker gray. And then we'll use those same colors to do the socks. Now, a lot of the feet won't show. Really, in the end, only the socks showed, but I did color all of that in. I wasn't sure, again, at the time, what exactly I was going to be doing with the rest of the card. And then I'm going to the peach pink to add a little bit of that bright pink, because we're going to be layering up this card with some pretty polka dots and some pink paper as well. So she's got these hot pink shoes, and then she's got some hot pink earrings. And then I did add a little touch of that to that little band in her hair. I've got Sugared Almond Pink and the Flesh Color to do her face and her skin tones. So I added a little pink to the cheeks, a little flesh color around the edges, and then I'm just blending that in. And again, we'll add a little bit to her arms of the flesh color and to her legs. Just kind of keeping it down towards the bottom part of her arms and then pulling up towards the top. And now I've got the haze blue, so I'll just add a little tint to that little needle that she's holding there. And then for the bottles, I'm going to hang on to that haze blue and add a little bit to the glass on the bottle. And then with light gray and gray, we'll do the cap. Just adding that darker gray to each side, and then I'll just pull that in towards the center a little bit. And then I'm going back to the Sugared Almond Pink for the label on the bottle. I did some of the labels in the lighter pink and some of them in that peach pink, so that I had a little bit of a variety of color. And then for the pills, I'm using the turquoise green. We'll also be adding some glaze to these bottles so they'll actually look like glass when we're done. So that's going to add a little bit more interest to these and a little bit more dimension. I just used my detail scissors to cut these out, and I did cut right along the line. And then because I cut right up to that line, I'm going to use my black Tombow pen, just go around the edges of these just to finish off those edges. Now here's where we're going to add this glaze. This is the Judikins Diamond Glaze, and it's just a clear glaze. When it goes on, it looks a little bit cloudy, but when it's completely dry, it'll be clear. And you'll know when it's completely dry because it will be perfectly clear. And I try to squeeze it off the cardstock first to get it started, to get out any bubbles. And then I go to my cardstock. So we're going to set all of those aside to dry. It will take a little bit of time for that. I've got the mini birthday paper pack from Art Impressions, and look at all these beautiful patterns. I'm going to use that little multicolored polka dot one. And then I've got the largest die from the Rectangle A2 double stitch dies from Art Impressions. And I've also got a piece of pink ballet slippers cardstock from Fawn. That's a 100-pound weight, so it'll be nice and heavy. Let's go ahead and run these two through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and then you get that pretty stitch border all the way around. Now what I wanted to do is cut a partial oval out of each of these, but I wanted to have a nice little frame for the oval. So I'm going to grab the 4th largest and the 5th largest dies from this oval double stitch die set, and I'm going to use that pink to frame this little lady that we're going to be placing in there. But let's start off with this larger oval. So I'm going to center it top and bottom, and then I'm just going to push it off the cardstock just a little bit. Now if you prefer, you can just center this on your cardstock and you can still create this pretty frame. I'll show you how to do that. I ran that through the die cutting machine. Any little excess of adhesive you might have from your post-it tape, you can use your adhesive eraser and remove that. So now let's line these two up, and now we can die cut this smaller oval. And again, that's going to give us that pretty frame. So I'll go ahead and tape this down. I'm just taping it to the pink cardstock. We're going to remove that polka dot cardstock. I just needed that to line this up right in the center of that larger oval. And now we can run this through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. And now you'll see how these line up, and I love how this looks. I love when you get that pretty frame. But again, you could just do that right in the center of your card if you prefer. So I've got a piece of cardstock that measures 8.5 by 5.5. I'm going to score that at 4 1/4, and that'll give us a standard A2 size card. And these two panels will be the exact same size, so 4 1/4 by 5.5. Let's grab this pink ballet slipper cardstock first, and I'm taking the Picked Raspberry Distress Oxide ink and a small blending brush, and I'm going to go all the way around the edges of that stitched oval just to highlight that a little bit better. Once that's done, I'm going to grab the Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink and the brick stencil from Fawn. And we're going to do just a little bit of stenciling behind that area where the oval will be, just for a little bit more interest. I thought I just needed to set that scene a little bit better. So I'm just going to hold this down with my hand because I'm not going to be doing too much stenciling. I've got a large blending brush. I want to get a really light effect. So I'm just picking up a little bit of ink off that ink pad and blending that in. And again, that'll just add a little texture in that background. You could see that up close. I had originally done that in the Picked Raspberry and I didn't like it. It was just too much. I decided it just needed to be a little soft light blue in that background. So I've got my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. We're going to go ahead and glue these together. And then I'm going to pop this up on the card. But first, let's grab that little lady and see where she needs to go. So I'm going to just glue her flat. And you'll see like her feet kind of get tucked in underneath there. So I really didn't have to color in those hot pink sneakers, but she looks cute in that little oval. And then what we're going to do is add some 3D foam tape to this panel just to pop this up a little bit. I've got my Cricut weeding tool. I like to use it just to press down that backing and then use that kind of pokey end to pull that backing off. I'm going to line this up. I'm just lining it up on the table just so that I get it lined up nice and straight. And then let's grab a little banner. This is from the Flag Double Stitch die set from Art Impressions. We're going to die cut 2 of these out of the Ballet Slippers cardstock. I've got my Sizzix Sidekick machine, so I'll just quickly run those through. And then those are the sentiments that we're going to grab, those 2 that I mentioned earlier, one for the outside of the card and one for the inside. And again, I'm just showing you how cute some of these other little sentiments are. So let's go ahead and do some stamping. I'm going to place these in my mini MISTI stamp positioner, and I'll do these both at the same time. It's just a little quicker and easier to do. But I do want to quickly just add a little bit of Tombow mono tape to the back of these. This is just a double stick tape, and it'll easily be removed when I'm done with my stamping. So I'm going to line up the one for the inside of the card will be on the center of that banner, and the one for the outside is going to be towards the right hand side of that banner. That's because we're going to be cutting off some of that one for the front of the card. So let's go ahead and press that out. Now I did end up stamping this 2 times because I pressed it out very lightly. I don't like to press too hard when I'm doing sentiments. I want to get a nice crisp sentiment, so I tend to press fairly lightly, and then I can do a couple of stampings that way. And since I did a couple of stampings, I'm going to heat set these with my heat tool because I do want to add a little bit of ink around the edges, and I don't want to smudge that black ink. So I grab my heat tool and heat set those. Now I'm going to that picked raspberry again, and I'll go all the way around the edges of both of these banners. Now again, we're going to be cutting off the left side of that top sentiment there, but we'll come back and add a little bit of color to that once we get it attached to the card. So let's put this one down in place. I don't have to glue this whole thing. I'm just going to glue the part of it that I need. And I did check it, and I needed to add a little bit more glue on this one. I'm just lining that up nice and straight, and then I'll grab my Tim Holtz shears to cut that off so that I get a nice clean cut. And there's where I'm adding that little bit of color right back to that edge. For the inside, we're just going to center this. And then we will add a little bit more inches to the inside. Lately, I've been wanting to add a little bit more to the inside of my cards. I tend to leave them plain a lot because I'm not sure what I'm going to be using them for. But I don't know, lately I've been wanting to kind of finish up the cards. So let's go ahead and grab these small foam squares. These are from scrapbook.com. And those are nice and dry now, these little bottles. And you'll see here shortly what a beautiful little glaze they have on them, so they actually look like glass. So I'm going to add 2 off to the left side of the sentiment. And with that Cricut weeding tool, I could just push it right down in there and pop these right off. So it really makes it easy to remove those backings. And I noticed that one of them was not removed, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then for the inside, I've got a couple extra little bottles that I'm going to place in here. Again, it just finishes off the inside of the card. It makes it complete. So we have that set. I've got some twine, or some baker's twine, and a couple different colors of pink. And I thought it would be fun just to combine these. So I've got 3 strands of it, and I'm going to just tie a knot up towards the top of the card. Now to hold this in place while I try to tie that knot, I'm going to use my reverse tweezers from scrapbook.com, and I'll just clamp that down. That'll hold that for me while I finish tying this. It's a really useful little tool. If you don't have one, you probably want to. Whenever you're tying a bow, it just holds it in place for you. And now once I have that knot, I'm going to trim these up just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is unravel these a little bit. I wanted them to be kind of like frayed on the ends. And there I'm just lifting that bottle up and kind of tucking that twine in underneath there. So let's go ahead and and to fray these, I'm just kind of pulling apart the ends just a little bit, maybe about kind of half an inch, and I'll do that for all of these. And then you can, if you get a little bit of that thread that kind of pulls out, you can go ahead and trim those again. Just clean up those edges a little bit. Now with my Wink of Stella clear glitter pen, I'm going to add a little bit of sparkle to some of these items. You do want to clean it off on your scrap paper if you're changing colors. You don't want to transfer that color. Now if you're using Copic markers or alcohol markers, you don't have to worry about that. But if you're using water-based markers, you do want to make sure that you clean it off in between. And here's a closer look at the finished card. And you can see those little bottles, how that adds a lot of dimension to those. And this cute little inside that we have for the card as well. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. So glad you guys joined me today. I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.